Good evening. Oh, come on now. Y'all can do a little bit better than that. Welcome. Good evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I heard there was a little bit of traffic as you traveled here, so we appreciate you still making it out and enjoying or joining us tonight for RTP 180. First timers? Wow, only a few first timers, so been here before. Yeah, all right. Thank you for coming back. We certainly appreciate that. Tonight, we're going to be discussing travel, and we have a great lineup of speakers this evening for you. So since you all pretty much have been here before, I won't spend a ton of time on the rules and everything, but would love to at least just kind of breeze through them to cover what to expect this evening. You are sitting in the RTP Frontier building. So on the first floor, this is a co-working space during the day, and it is open to anyone and everyone who would like to come in and co-work during the day. Above us, we have some offices as well for small to medium-sized companies. So there's a lot of programming that goes around the Frontier RTP and in general. So make sure you check out the website, check out what's coming up. There's always something going on every single day, pretty much out here at the Frontier. I know most of you know this, but for the newbies who are here for the first time, the presenter is going to get 5 minutes. It is not a hard 5 minutes, but we will ding a triangle at the 5-minute mark. That does not mean that they get off the stage and they're kind of hooked off. That just means, hey, the 5 minutes are up. Make your last couple points. But just so you know, it's not a hard 5 minutes. I am the triangle girl, and I think I do a lovely job at it, by the way. So, and then we will do a 2-question kind of Q&A, or maybe 3, depending on timing of this evening. There is a hashtag, so we would love for you all to go and tweet the hashtag RTP180. So if you want to get out your smartphone, of course, follow at the RTP, and then you can tweet using the hashtag RTP180. And of course, Frontier and RTP are very generous to allow us to use the space this evening, so just make sure you keep it the way they gave it to us tonight, which was clean and free of trash. So make sure you just throw away your cups before heading out and your popcorn bags. The last kind of thing is everyone can hear you. Exactly. No one can hear me, but everyone can hear you. So off to the side, in the back. You guys seem like a very attentive audience this evening, so I don't think that that'll be an issue. But everyone can hear you. There's really no floor or carpeting on the floor. There's no really ceiling. So it's very loud, and it's a very vibrant room, so sound bounces all over the place. And I will leave you with, my name is Will. I've been doing this for emceeing RTP 180 for over 4 years now. So it's been an honor and a privilege to do it, and I enjoy it every third Thursday. I look forward to doing this. And most of you, if you followed sort of the path of me, I ran a marketing agency, and then last month took a job, and I forgot to tell everybody what that job was last month, and I had so many people come up and say, what type of job did you take? Well, I'll give you a hint, and it's on my feet. I took a job in the footwear industry as a brand manager for a footwear accessory line, and so if you can't see them, they are cheetah printed shoes. And I feel like, because of travel, right, why don't you gamble in the jungle? Too many cheetahs. Yeah, there's more. Don't worry, there's more. All right, Josh, you gotta follow that. You gotta follow that line. You good with that? Okay. All right, Josh Adele is the lead software developer for Reward Stock. He is a passionate traveler and has hiked and drank local beers on 4 continents. When he's not globetrotting, he's working in his garden, experimenting with technology, and talking to anyone and everyone about how to earn free travel. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Josh to the stage.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, RTP, for having us tonight. So yeah, I'm Josh Adele with Reward Stock. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got started with free travel, specifically the mental changes I had to go through to get to a place where I could really be earning a lot of travel, And hopefully, if you recognize some of the mental hurdles in yourselves, you guys can take some advice and get some free travel yourselves. So first off, like I said, Josh Adele, work for RewardStock, senior developer. We show people how to get free travel using credit card reward points. Beer enthusiasts, I love drinking beer, especially when I travel. But important to tonight, I am a world traveler. I have been since I was young, passionate about it. I've been all over the United States and Canada, Europe. I proposed to my wife in South America. This is a picture of me on top of a mountain in New Zealand. This was a trip about 18 months ago, and I chose this picture very specifically because in this picture, and in every trip that I took before this picture was taken, I was a chump. So what do I mean by that? Well, a chump, very simply, is just a naive person that it's easy to take advantage of, right? So in the context of travel, a travel chump is someone being taken advantage of by the airlines and hotels because you're paying more than you have to get flights and hotel rooms. I didn't understand travel rewards until I started working at RewardStock. They were just too complex for me. I kind of feared credit and credit cards, right? Like, I don't really know how credit works. I know my credit score is important, and I know if I screw it up, I can really screw up my life. But more importantly, all the trips I took, I was paying my own money for, out of pocket, thousands and thousands of dollars over the year that I did not have to be spending. And it's all because, in my own head, whenever someone would talk about travel reward points, frequent flyer miles, hotel loyalty points, credit card points, I would think, that sounds way too complicated for me. That sounds like a ton of work, and I don't really think it's worth it. I'm just gonna reach into my wallet and pull out cash or my debit card and pay that way. So this is the chump mindset. This is what I had to get over in order to start earning free travel. And if you have any of this in your head, I hope by the end of the talk you will have learned some things and maybe gotten over this mindset yourself, and you can start earning some free travel. So reward points. Reward points are very complicated. As soon as you start looking into all the different programs, you find out that every airline has their own frequent flyer program. Every hotel chain has their own loyalty program. All the banks have their own programs. All the rules are different, and they change all the time at the whim of the airlines and hotels and banks. If you ever start looking at travel forums, the travel hacker forums, the guys who do this all the time, you end up getting a lot of jargon thrown at you. Point valuations, transfer ratios, code shares. How many people in this room know what an open jaw is? Okay, a couple people, good. How many people know the difference between a stopover and a layover? Okay, a couple people too, good. And you have to know all the partnerships between all the programs. Which programs can transfer from one into the other? How much are you gaining or losing in value by doing that? There are guys who spend weeks looking at spreadsheets, figuring out how to get the best trips for themselves. And just to give you a taste of what that looks like, if I want to take a simple trip from RDU to LaGuardia in New York, these are all the things I need to know about in order to get the maximum value from my travel points. I need to know about Chase Bank points. I need to know about American Airlines points. I need to know about all of American Airlines partners. I need to know about all the hotels that transfer into those airlines. I need to know how much my points are worth. This is just if I want to fly American Airlines. The other two big airlines, Delta, United, they have their own networks of partners that overlap a little bit, but they don't. So just looking at this, I can very obviously tell that the best way to use my points is to transfer 7,500 points from my Chase Bank account into British Avios and then use my British Avios points to book a flight on American Airlines. That's simple. Everyone's eyes just glazed over, and I agree with you. This is boring. This is complicated. That's the truth. It is complicated. It's math, it's a lot of rules and minutia and fine print, and it changes all the time. But it turns out, I don't have to do that. Computers are really good at math. I know, I found that out. That's what I had to learn. And whereas I might only be able to look at a handful of flights, so just the American Airlines flights, computers can look at every flight, every single flight that happens from RDU to New York and back over the course of weeks, months. Computers can look at that in seconds and tell me, this is the best flight for you. And then it can tell me how to get the points that I need, or I'm sorry, how to use my points, which points to earn, what points to transfer, and take the complexity out. I don't have to do this myself anymore. So, Chump thinks it's too complicated. The truth is, it's not when you have a computer that can do it for you. Well, now I know what points I need. I have to actually earn those points. And that seems like a lot of work. If you earn points, let's say frequent flyer miles, by flying, you would have to fly around the world roughly 20 times to earn a one-way flight from RDU to Hawaii. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not going to spend my summer flying around the world 20 times. Maybe some of you are, in which case, talk to me after, because that's awesome. It gets even worse if you want to earn free hotel nights. If you want to stay one night in a low-end budget hotel, you have to stay about 40 nights in mid to luxury range hotels just to earn that one night. It's not worth it. I'm going to lay down a lot of cash just to get a cheap hotel room somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Again, I'm just going to whip out my wallet and pay cash. I'm not going to bother with it. And the truth is that only chumps actually earn points that way. The experts, the guys who do this all the time and take these amazing trips 4 or 5 times a year, earn their points with credit card sign-up bonuses. So these are the things where if you sign up for a credit card, they say spend $2,000 in the first 90 days of having this card, and we'll give you 25,000 to 100,000 points. And those points are worth usually a round trip domestic somewhere, or at least a one-way international. So 2 credit cards, that's my international flight to Europe or Australia. So what cards do I need? Well, cards have a lot of the same rules as the airline partners and other programs. They're complicated, they change all the time. I don't want to track that. It gets back to that complexity issue before, but again, computers can tell me that. If I tell a computer where I want to go and how many points I'm starting with, if I have points, the computer will then tell me, okay, if you sign up for this card, you will earn this many points, which will get you the rest of the way to your trip. And you get that trip for free, which sounds pretty awesome to me. I like free. This is the big one, because credit cards scare me as a chump. Aren't credit cards bad for you? There's a lot of misinformation flying out around about credit cards, about what they can do to your credit score, about interest payments, about all that fine print, the ways they get you. But it turns out that if you know how to use credit cards responsibly, it's actually good for you. Since I've been doing this for about 18 months, my credit score has actually gone up quite a bit. Not to brag or anything. A lot of people don't understand how credit score is calculated. But if you get a credit card and you don't treat it like a loan, you just treat it like cash in the bank, like a debit card or cash in your wallet, you pay it off every month in full and never pay interest, and you start with just a couple cards, maybe 1 or 2 for that international trip. You don't have to get 20 credit cards to get a trip. Then you actually end off not only with free travel, but a better financial health. So, does anybody think that getting free travel with credit cards still isn't worth it? Who wants to go out and get a credit card right now so they can sign up for free travel? See, not many hands, so I know that a lot of you are still thinking in that chump mindset. Double chump, right. So, if you still think it's not worth it, as an example, my wife and I, just a month ago, got back from Switzerland. We got round-trip flights to Switzerland and 8 nights in hotels completely free. We did not pay a single cent for it. We saved about $4,100, maybe a little bit more. But if that's not enough for you, wait, there's more. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. RewardStock CEO John Hayes was supposed to be here tonight giving this talk, but he's actually in Connecticut right now at the wedding of 2 of RewardStock's users. Why would RewardStock users invite the CEO of the company to their wedding? Well, it's because we just saved them $28,000. I like the reactions out there. $28,000 on their honeymoon. They're flying business class round trip to Australia, and they're getting 8 nights in luxury resorts between Sydney and Melbourne. So $28,000 is no longer chump change, right? That's life-changing amounts of money. If you want to learn about our CEO's life-changing amount of money that he saved, you can come talk to me afterwards, and I'll tell you that story. It's more than $28,000. So finally, just to wrap up, don't be a chump. Sign up for RewardStock. We're a completely free site. We will never charge you, and we will give you all the advice you need to get started earning points, using points, and earning some really awesome free travel. So with that, thank you very much for coming and listening to me blather on about this. I will blather on afterwards if you talk to me too. Please ask me questions.
All right. I might steal one of the questions out here, but my first question is, this is legal, right?
We're being filmed? Yes, it's completely legal.
You hesitated, so I don't know.
No, it's all above board. Every rule that you follow to get free travel this way is published, right? You can go to the airline's website, you can go to the hotel, you can go to the bank's website. The rules for these programs are all published. They're just published in really tiny print, and that print changes all the time so that they can trick you and make sure that you aren't actually getting the full value, right? They want to take advantage of you. So we automate the process so that they can't.
So if you're free, how do you make money?
What a great question. We are an affiliate model. So if you come to RewardStock and you say, I want to fly from Raleigh to Switzerland, and we recommend, okay, you have to sign up for the Chase Platinum Elite Master Gold Double Super Secret Probation Card, and you'll earn 100,000 points or whatever it is. We then give you a link that says, and if you want to sign up for that card, here's a link to the application page. And you click on that, and if you are approved for that card, we get a commission on that. So it's an affiliate model. Yes? Yeah.
In general, do you prefer the cards that are from the airlines or the more like the Chase multiple airline, rewards cards?
That is an awesome question. It actually depends on where you want to go and what you're starting with. So if you already have an American Airlines card and you've already gotten the bonus on that, or maybe missed the bonus on that, you can't get the bonus on that again. So we'll recommend, you get a Chase card, or you get a card for one of American Airlines partners that you can transfer into American Airlines. If you are just, that's if you're looking to travel on American Airlines. If you're looking to travel just however you can, it depends what you want to do. Some cards are better for traveling domestic. Some cards are better for traveling internationally. So we take all that into account, as well as what points you're already starting with, what cards you already have, and feed that into our fancy computer, and it spits out a plan.
So I'm going off. We got one more. I was told I'm going off of hands. It's all yours.
How long do you keep these credit cards open for? Like once you got the bonus, can you close it and not have to manage another credit card, or will that hurt your credit?
Good question, too. So again, the answer is it depends what you're comfortable with, and it depends what the card is. Some of these cards don't have an annual fee, and if they don't have an annual fee, keep the card open forever. Just every 6-8 months or so, go buy a stick of gum with it so that they don't close the account on you. Length of credit history is a major portion of your credit score. I think it's about 30-ish to 35% of your credit score. So never if you have a card with no annual fee, just never close it. And never close your oldest credit card. That's just free advice. For cards that do have an annual fee, and some of the higher end reward cards do have pretty high annual fees, then we recommend just to be a good credit citizen, at least making it through, 1 year or so before you think about closing that card. And at that point, you have to examine, is the annual fee worth it, right? Like if my annual fee on my card is $450, but every year they give me a $300 travel credit that I can put towards flights and hotels, then really the annual fee on that card is only $150 because I'm going to use $300 worth of travel, right? So the annual fee is only $150. Are the rest of the perks that I get worth keeping that card open? Or if it's a much lower cost card, some of the cards say have a $49 annual fee. Am I earning enough points, and are the points that I'm earning valuable enough that they're going to offset the annual fee there? So just be a good citizen. I've closed a couple cards. There's other strategies. You can downgrade cards to a lower product sometimes, and it doesn't count as closing the account. So there's different strategies. It depends what you're comfortable with and, again, what you want to do, what your goals are.
Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I have one small little question for you. Do you mind giving us a little bit of a tease or an inside of what the CEO trip was and how much money he saved?
Yeah. So he and his wife went on a honeymoon to the Maldive Islands in the Indian Ocean. They flew first class on Etihad Airlines, which is one of the top luxury brands. They had a personal chef and a stand-up shower on the plane, which I've never had. That's pretty awesome. And they stayed for 8 nights in the Conrad Maldives on the island. They got all of that for free. They totaled it up afterwards. If they had paid cash, it would have been $40,000. That's a tease.
I did that same trip and had to pay 40 grand, so you win or he wins. Josh, thank you so much. So if you know anything about RTP 180, and it looks like most of you do because you've been here before, you know that I love a good joke, as you've seen in the beginning. So I have, I've not told a lot lately, but I have, in honor of this evening, I have basically one between every speaker. So what's worse than raining cats and dogs? Hailing taxi. Let that one sink in just for a little bit, like the Titanic. No? Okay, still travel. All right, whatever, I tried. I'm sorry, Marcy. I teed you up basically for success because, okay, fantastic. All right, Marcy and I have met and hung out plenty of times other than this, but we are glad that she is here this evening. She is a productivity and health speaker, coach, and author of a best-selling book, Beyond Travel. Makes sense why you're here this evening. A Road Warrior's Survival Guide and Hack the Mobile Lifestyle, 6 Steps to Work Well and Play More. Marcy spent almost a decade traveling 40 to 45 weeks a year eating chemically concocted airplane delicacies. Yum. And is geared up for a trip next week to Dubai to present at the tallest building in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Miss Marcy Rader. Oh, you don't have slides, right?
I love business travel. I can travel and focus on the event or the team that I'm working with and go back to my hotel and just relax. And when I get home, all my dishes are clean and I have a healthy meal waiting for me and my refrigerator's stocked. And when I fly internationally, I can take a few days off and go back to work feeling refreshed and energized. Is this how you all experience business travel? You're right. So in reality, I feel like I work about 30 hours a day when I'm traveling for business. And my time is never my own. I work all day long, and then I have more work to do at night in the hotel, and I'm also trying to stay connected to my family. I get home, and there's usually dirty dishes in the sink, and I am eating a chemically concocted boxed frozen delicacy that will heat up in less than 1 minute. And I go right back to work the next day after flying across the country or internationally, and I get sick, and it takes me a month to catch up on the errands. This, a lot of times, is business travel, right? So I am going to give you 3 T tips to survive the tarmac treadmill. 1, touch or tap once. Now, I don't know what you are thinking, but I am talking about your phone and notifications. So rings, pings, buzzes. Distracting when we're not traveling, right? But when we are, a lot of times we will pick up our phone out of boredom or fear of missing out, and we will be constantly looking at that phone to our email. For the most part, email is very unproductive on a phone unless you can delete it or reply in less than 2 minutes. So if you can tell by the subject line that you need to give a thoughtful response, or you need to task it, or need to do something with it later, it is a waste of your precious time to open that email. I know the FOMO kills you not to see what's in the content. But if you can tell by the subject line, you can't do anything with it, don't open it. Touch or tap once. Second T, transfer responsibility. I automate everything that I can, down to my groceries. I have been in a grocery store 5 times since January because I use Instacart. And Instacart in the RTP area is Harris Teeter, Food Lion, Whole Foods, Costco, Petco. So 2 weeks ago, I sat on a plane, and when they said, okay, doors closing, we're getting ready for takeoff, I knew we were going to leave. So I copied my list over from the 2 weeks prior, scheduled it to be delivered 2 weeks after I got, or 2 weeks, 2 hours after I got home, drove home, took a shower, unpacked, and my fresh groceries were delivered to my door. I will not step foot in a grocery store again unless I have to. And this is all for 10% of your total bill. I am worth $10 out of $100 to not spend an hour in a grocery store. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, I consider it a crime not to use subscribe and save. And that is another way that you can set it and forget it. So if you have 5 things delivered at once, you save off the already low price of Amazon. And you can schedule it in 1 to 6 month intervals. And it's easy to just skip a month. I even put my air filters on there so that I can have my air filters delivered exactly the months that I need to. So I don't need to think about shopping ever. And when I do think about it, like just to say, press send on it, I can do it from wherever I am. So touch and tap once, transfer responsibility to an automated system. And the last T is take, as in take the day. When you travel across time zones, jet lag is a real thing. It affects you not just physiologically, but psychologically, and can take 6 to 11 days to overcome. It affects you cognitively. You have cognitive impairment, loss of short-term memory. It affects your digestion because of the altitude and the air pressure from the plane. And it also can shut off genes that affect your immune system. And that's why you get sick. And they did a study with I think it was the World Bank employees that traveled internationally. And the majority of them said the one thing that would help them is to have a day off when they got back. But only a small percentage ever asked for it. So if you are a manager, of people who travel across time zones, the best gift you can give them is the day off, the day after they come back, or at least allow them to work from home. So the 3 T's to survive the tarmac treadmill is to touch or tap once, transfer responsibility to an automated system, and take the day after international or cross-country travel. With these tips, you can work well, play more, and travel smarter. Will.
How much are you to come to my house and help me figure all this out?
Well, I have a package for that.
Oh.
It's called the Power Plan.
So, and that wasn't staged. I actually was wondering. I'm sitting here thinking, I need that, I need that, I need that. My work needs that. So Marcy's been super gracious. If you look under your chair, she's given a book. Just kidding. Just kidding. Let's have some fun, right? But we do have time for questions. I know, I'm so sorry. Time for questions. Anybody got a question? I promise it's worth it. Yes, sir.
In my experience, traveling west is always easier than traveling east, and it seems like I can travel up to 3 time zones west and not have it affect me, but if I come back east.
No, you're absolutely right. So traveling from west to east is much harder because it's easier to stay up than to wake up earlier. So if you are, because we're on the East Coast, it's really nice to be respectful of people that you bring to the East Coast for your meetings or conferences. If you are an event planner, don't start your conference at 7 a.m. when you have a lot of people flying from the West Coast, because by about 2 o'clock, they're not going to be there anymore. They're going to be taking a nap in their hotel, or they're just going to be asleep in the chair. And because you were brave enough to ask the first question, you do get a copy of Beyond Travel, a Road Warrior Survival Guide.
I knew that was coming. That's why I teed up the under the chair thing. One more? Time for one more? I have one if no one else is brave enough to ask. Okay. See, that always gets them. Evidently, you don't want me asking a question.
Hi. Forget the business stuff. What's your favorite country to visit personally, like for pleasure?
My most favorite city in the world was Tokyo. Absolutely. If you can ever go there, it was the safest. They were friendly, and it was, people use the word awesome, like, everything's awesome, just like love. Like, I love pizza, I love my husband. But Tokyo was really awesome. Yep. But I'm going to Dubai, and that might trump it.
So you shared a couple of hacks. What's the one that you would probably say is the most quote unquote game changing of them all that you if you could do one, which one would you pick to do?
Out of those 3?
Sure, why not?
The touch or tap once, because I don't just coach business travelers, and my number 1 workshop that people hire me for is email extinguisher. Yeah. And it's a compulsion for most people to check their email all the time. And if you can tell by the subject line that you can't do anything with it, it doesn't help you to open it. So, touch or tap once. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you. Switch out real quick. All right. I promised you jokes. And here's another one. I apologize. Why is Peter Pan always flying? Because he never lands. Yeah, all right. Finally got one. Sorry. Okay, Hank and Amy Hoffmeyer. Hank is a digital marketing professional, and Amy is a stay-at-home mom and homeschooler. They moved to NC from NJ, New Jersey, in 2000, basically on the dot, in pursuit of a better life and more travel. Ladies and gentlemen, husband and wife duo, Hank and Amy Hoffmeyer. I got the clicker for you.
Good evening. I am Hank. My wife Amy's over here. She's going to keep me honest because she is our family travel mastermind. Growing up, I thought staycations were awesome. I thought that that was the thing to do, and I would travel to a couple states surrounding where I lived. I then met and married Amy, and I became a world traveler. So from a show of hands, how many people here love to travel? How many of you have been to Disney within the last 1 to 2 years? Last week. What if I told you you can travel to Europe for 6 weeks for the same cost of going to Disney for about 2 weeks? Would you be interested in hearing that? We'll get to that. We use travel as an opportunity to educate our children. We think it's very important to have hands-on learning. Here's my son Andrew, 7 years old, and my daughter Riley, who's 9 years old, looking at the Venus de Milo at the Louvre. They're both learning about this same statue in 2 different ways. We also love to visit national parks because it allows an opportunity to learn about the beautiful land that we have here in the United States. Not only that, we let them participate in a junior ranger program. It's an educational program that allows children to learn about the national parks, the beauty of it, and also make it a better place than when they left it. They also get really cool badges that they love to collect, and they have, I think, about like 30 of them now, which is awesome. They love it. We have a plaque with them on there. Why would you want to learn about Mount Rushmore or moose antlers from a book when you can actually do it in person? We go to places that are well known, like the Statue of Liberty, or to Bar Harbor, Maine, and do some tide pooling and learn about sea creatures. We also do other things that are unique besides just visiting state and national parks. Amy planned an awesome road trip that was 3 weeks in length. She headed out towards Denver, taking some of the northern state route to show the children the sites that coincided with an audiobook that they listened to called Little House on the Prairie. She stopped at numerous sites and they learned about it, became educated. I flew into Denver, stayed for 2 weeks. I flew back and she drove back the southern track. They also stopped at the Field of Dreams and the Badlands National Park along the way, just to name a few. We also believe that children should learn about different cultures. That's why we started traveling internationally. We wanted them to learn about different countries and the cultures that are there. If you ever go to Pompeii, I recommend wearing comfortable shoes. There is a lot of walking. We also went to Prague, where we were able to allow the children to do some hands-on learning with animals, not just learning from a book, actually holding them and learning about different breeds of owls. We also learned about ancient games in Rome, and we did some deep thinking at the Louvre. We also taught them how animals help with the ecosystem, whether it's storks or goat hides in Germany. This is my son on a Paris subway. He walked in, found an empty seat, picked up the paper, and started reading it. I say we trained him well to be a good traveler. Long trips with children, they may be tough, and you may say it's hard. But what you can do is stimulate them with audio or visual, using iPads and music, or maybe just a day will wear them out and they'll take care of themselves. You can stop and smell the roses in Paris, France, or you can just feed some swans. My daughter's favorite place is France. She loves the culture there, the Eiffel Tower the most. And my son and daughter love the baths in Italy. They're getting so much cultural experience that it makes us happy. So you might say, traveling with young children is difficult because they're not going to remember the experience, where I say experiences build on one another. As well, you have pictures to show them later on in life, and you could see the beauty of everything through their eyes. So I always recommend traveling with children as often as you can. My favorite part and my daughter's favorite part is the food. We're both adventurous, thanks to Amy. We eat many different types of food and try different things. My wife has an infatuation with foreign food stores. She loves, the first thing we do when we go to different countries is check out the food stores, because they usually have more variety and fresher foods than they have here in the US. Now, to save money, we'll buy food at the grocery store, cook in our apartment, or plan picnics. We may eat out once per night or once every other night to save money and just do picnics. It's a lot cheaper. From macaroons to mussels, I think food is also a great educational experience, teaching them about the different foods and different cultures. So going back to going to Disney or traveling internationally, Amy is really awesome at doing a lot of research. And if you're flexible with when and how you can travel very cheaply and have more experiences and have a better life. Thank you.
All right. Questions? All right, Mr. Stan.
So I want to get Amy in the mix. Amy, so you're a connoisseur of foreign grocery stores. What's your favorite grocery store abroad?
They're all really good. Your message was wonderful, but it would torture me if I couldn't go to the food store because I just love to. It's definitely a different experience. In Germany they have wonderful food stores that are coming here, the Lidl markets and the Aldi. I like to go and just see the different products and see what different people eat. I think it's really interesting.
Oh, you're making it easy on me. All right.
How can you afford to travel with 4 people?
It's tough, that's mainly what we wanted to talk about, was that people think that traveling is very expensive. And it can be, as Josh pointed out earlier. If you go and have a specific time that you need to go and you have a specific destination in mind, it could be very expensive. But there's a lot of sites that you can subscribe to. There's Secret Flying, if you're on Facebook. So Secret Flying provides lots of different airfares that are inexpensive. We're going to Spain in 2 weeks for $300 round trip for everyone. So, and then when we get there, we don't stay in hotels. We stay at Airbnbs. So we split those costs with people that we travel with. So I travel with my mother and my father, and so we split that 50% with them. So we'll stay at an apartment for $100 per night and split that, and it's $50 per night.
Probably got time for one more. If anybody, any brave souls? If not, I do have one. That didn't work this time? Okay. But yeah, absolutely.
I do love international grocery stores, though. I just don't need to go to Food Lion.
I understand.
Yeah. I just want to say the national park, taking your kids around in the national park with the badges. My former neighbor is 35 years old, and she has all the badges, and she still goes around and gets the badges. And it was something she grew up with as a family, and it is also, promoting our parks. And I just commend you for doing that, because not enough people are going to the parks now. So I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, the national parks are an amazing thing that we have in this country. So if you can't afford to travel internationally with your children, then of course try to travel domestically. There are national parks right here in North Carolina, and there's no reason why every child in North Carolina has not been to any of them. So get out there and seek those opportunities for them, because every single child in school today is learning Common Core. And if you don't differentiate your child and their education, they're going to be the same as every single other person in the workforce when they get out there. So if you want your child to be different from any of their peers and to have different experiences and different viewpoints, you really need to get out there and do something different. It's up to you.
All right, thank you so much. I'll take all of the mics back, I guess. I'll try to juggle everything. Thank you, sir. Nice job. Last but certainly not least, and of course in between, we'll do a little bit of a joke here. Why did the librarian get kicked off the plane? No? It was overbooked. Yeah, slow clap on that one. All right. Okay, last Last up, we have Kat Cruz. She is the co-founder of Unanchor, a publisher of 200-plus digital itineraries created by locals all around the world. Although she has not traveled abroad until her mid-20s, she has now traveled to more than 10 countries, as well as dozens more from the comfort of her desk and laptop while editing itineraries. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Kat Cruz. I wanted to do hashtag Kat Cruz, but...
So what does it mean to travel with the heart of a local? To experience things like a local experiences. As we go into our travels, if we keep an open mind, it gives us that opportunity to build an appreciation for the local people, the local culture, and then create a connection that we can carry with us for long after we have left that place. So would you hike 10 miles to go see this waterfall? Because that's exactly what I did. I mean, that's my favorite color, turquoise, so it definitely enticed me. Does anyone know where this waterfall is? Yes, it's Havasu Falls in the western Grand Canyon. The only way to it is by foot, by horse, or by helicopter. So, as I stood at the top of the canyon, not knowing quite what was ahead of my 10-mile journey, I thought to myself, well, here's an open terrain. Here's an open mind I need to have. So as I descended down into the canyon, it's very clear that I got dusty very quickly. There was very little vegetation. And eventually the canyon walls closed up around me. Felt very, very small down there. But at the same time, it was very peaceful. It was quiet. And as I was walking along the path, I realized this way to the waterfall was also a way of life for the local people in the Havasu tribe that lived near the waterfall. So as I was meandering through this canyon, I began to hear a sound. It reminded me of a train or a car, but I knew that none of those were out there. I looked up to the sky, but there was no helicopter either. I kept turning around over my shoulder, thinking I'd see something eventually, and I did. Around a corner came this. It was a caravan of horses and donkeys. This is how the village got supplies. So as you can see, there's many packages, there's coolers. Sometimes there was a single lone horse or a couple horses. Clearly this was a path that they traveled often. They knew the way through. And a little while later, as I was continuing to walk through, two small boys passed me. They were much smaller than me, but they were walking faster than I was. Their clothes and their shoes were a few sizes too large for them, probably handed down from a cousin or a sibling, but they were happy as could be and continued on the way. Again, they knew that this was their path. They knew exactly where they were going. And it kind of dawned on me at that point that this is a path. I'm walking their path. And I was just a visitor. And it came around a corner. There was more vegetation. And it came upon the village. There was a sign as I entered, and it was asking everyone to be respectful because this is a sacred place to them, and this is their home. And to think of a place as someone's home, it kind of changes your perspective of how you approach it. So while their roads through town were dirt and there were horses running through, there were people running through, you kind of thought to yourself, I have a better appreciation for this place. I have a better respect for this place because this is someone's home. As I continued on to the waterfall, which is actually another mile outside of the village, I had this in mind. And again, kind of like the village sneaking up on you, the waterfall kind of sneaks up on you too. You're walking along the river, and you know it's coming, you can hear it. But all you see is those orange rocks that you see here. And you come around a corner, and it just opens up, and there's that beautiful blue waterfall. And it was everything that I could imagined it would be. A lot of these photos look photoshopped if you've seen many photos of it. I can promise you it's not. That's really what it looks like. But to know that this is a special place to these people, I appreciated the natural beauty, but I also appreciated that it was someone's home. So I went to sleep that night, woke up very early the next morning, had a greater appreciation. I felt a connection to those people. I knew kind of a few more things than I did coming in the day before. So I knew as I was hiking back that I needed to bring water with me so I didn't get dehydrated. I now knew when I heard the horses coming, I needed to step off the track. I also knew that if I needed to use the restroom, there were no facilities along the way. So you have to find a bush. Hopefully you're in an area where there was a bush. If not, you found a big boulder and you went around behind it, you looked around, kind of hoped nobody could see you, and took care of things and went on your way. So by the time we got to the end, this is climbing back up out of the canyon, I was noticing everyone zigzagging back and forth up. It was a mix of people. I didn't really notice that going in, but coming out, it was a mix of hikers. It was locals. It was these horses. And I felt a bond to these people. We'd spent the last 3-4 hours hiking back through the canyon to this place. And I felt as I was walking away, that I was also walking away with the heart of a local. And I thought to myself, as I saw the people at the top of this canyon, about to begin this journey that I had already gone through, I really hope that they also can carry an open mind so they can build an appreciation for the culture that they were about to be exposed to, and so that they could create that connection to carry with them long after they were there. So, everyone has a waterfall to go see. Where will you travel with the heart of a local?
Love it. Love the whole vibe of the storytelling and the stool. I love it. Love it. Kind of all came together there. Couple questions?
Who wants to go here?
I couldn't see it. I see 1 and 2, so I'll go.
Do you remember the name of the trail that goes to the fall?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I don't know that it has a name. It's the Havasu Falls, and it's the Havasu Pai tribe. If you look up Havasu Pai, it's listed under the national parks, but it is run by the Indian reservation, so there's information there, but in order to get in, you do need a permit to get in.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And was it from the south rim or the north rim?
Yeah, south.
Okay.
And it's pretty far, it's west of the actual National Grand Canyon Park, yeah. It's a pretty long drive, but worth it.
Did he steal yours, or you're good? Okay.
I was just wondering, what cities do you have itineraries for?
All around the world, literally. A lot of big cities. We have a lot of specialties. So like a big city like New York City, we might have like a foodie itinerary and, history, something like specific to along the river there. But yeah, we have like big cities, small cities. One of my favorites is in Kentucky, and it's one of 2 cities in the U.S. that has a train that actually runs through the street. So cars are parked all there, but yeah, check us out.
And then, great segue to this last question for you. How does all of this influence kind of how you started on Anchor? Can you kind of cross the bridge there for us?
Yeah, it's all tied to the locals. So all of our itineraries, so they're like a travel guide, but it's written out in an itinerary format, lots of details. But we don't send guidebook writers out. We have locals that write these, so they can provide tips to you that someone who actually lives there would know. So, what time of day is the best time to go there? Or, hey, there's a secret menu item at this restaurant. So very much that local feel.
Very cool. Anybody, one last question before we let her off the hot seat? All right, thanks. Nice job, very nice job. Oh, you can leave it up if you want. Either way. So if I can kind of take just one last little piece of your time, if I can tell a small little story. So 4 years ago, we started this little thing called RTP 180. And I was asked to MC it pretty much out of the blue. I had never really done this before. Other than some small little talks at universities and such, but I've never really hosted an event. And RTP took a chance on me. And tonight, unfortunately, bittersweet. This is Anna's last RTP 180. I know, so she is taking a job. But everything that you see and everything that we've kind of figured out over the years, I remember the first one that we did, we had like 15 speakers. We did a break in the middle. We lost like half the audience during the break, and we messed up. Well, not really messed up, but we learned along the way. And every time after 180, we would get together the next day and say, okay, what happened? What went wrong? How do we fix it? How do we get better? And continually over the 4 years, and even coming over here, we had to figure out, okay, how do we handle the room? How do we do 1 projector instead of 2 and a tweet wall and all sorts of things? But all the speakers that you basically have seen over the 4 years and all the organizing and everything, I'm trying not to like get choked up, but is because of her. So she's become a great friend of mine on the outside. We've worked very closely on this, so it's quite tough to see you go. So I hope it lives on after you. It's a big, huge torch to pass to whoever does it after this. So super gracious for everything that you do, and your sister as well, behind the scenes. That's her mom. It's okay. But thank you so much. I think it's going to be tough for whoever comes behind you to continue this. So that is, we will do it, as far as I know, next month. It'll still be on the third Thursday. Yes, nanotechnology, something I'm an expert in. Absolutely. So I saw a ton of you take notes and write down a ton of the little hacks and the little things that you learned this evening. I do write a blog recap. So I go back, I watch all the video again, and then I write a blog recap. So we'll try to get that up next week for you all, and it'll be posted, tweeted out. So make sure you pay attention to that. And then hopefully we'll see you next month for nanotechnology. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you so much. See you next time.